Greetings all. The Catholic Bishops of Nigeria calls for prayers. Prayer, action, misplacement, and the hypocrisy of church leaders in Nigeria. A personal reflection and opinion. The Catholic Bishops of Nigeria, CBN, has always been in forefront of condemning and speaking against injustices in Nigeria, and sure they have earned my and other poor masses admiration and thanks. Following the increased unabated killings in Nigeria at large and Southern Kaduna in particular in these recent days, the CBN just again issued a nationwide prayers. Against this background comes my reflection. Is the CBN, in her innermost conviction, believe only prayers will bring down Archangel Michael in his war regalia to fight for the dying? There is nothing God and prayers cannot do, but there are things God and prayers do not do. The capacity of God does not override the image of God in us. Thus, God creates and man procreates. Faith without good work is dead. The letter of St. James, chapters 2, from 14 to 26. The manifestation of God is shown in acts of man. For Jacob to be chained to Israel in fulfillment of promise of God to Abraham to make him a father of nation, he had to contend not with a mere man but with his creator himself. That has bestowed the world's blessing that all of us claim to tap in. He had to fight not a mere man. Genesis 32 from 22 to 32. We are also very familiar with the journey of Israelites to the promised land, particularly in Joshua chapter 6. God already promised them that he's going to hand over, he's going to deliver the Jericho, her king and her fighting men unto their hands. But yet he labored them to prepare for physical combat, prepare for physical war, send out spies who risked their lives to go and study the city, come back with information, and they prepared and marched against the city at the most vulnerable time. This story you can get from Joshua 6 from 20 and 21. They marched in, and when the trumpet was blown, the walls of Jericho fell down. Then the people marched in and used their sword to kill everything they saw. What are we learning here? Things God can do, things God will do, and things man will do. Prayer, action, misplacement in Nigerian church. Decades ago, the CBN came up with a beautiful prayer for Nigeria in distress, and this has been said in churches and families since then. Concluding part of that prayer reads, "Spare this nation Nigeria from chaos, anarchy and doom." This prayer was formed when there was nothing called Boko Haram. This prayer was formed when Fulani herdsmen were still using sticks to control their cows. This prayer was formed, and we started saying this prayer when government convoys moved in honor and splendor. This prayer was formed when the entire territorial integrity of Nigeria was still under Nigerian government. Decades later, we are still saying these prayers. We have Boko Haram. Herdsmen no longer use sticks to control cow. They use AK-47 and other assault rifles to wipe out villages. Weapon-wielding bandits now strike posts with state governors in a paparazzi. Villages, communities, local governments are now under the command of different terror groups who patrol, kill, maim unabated, and governor's convoy today is attacked freely with no arrests. Today again, same CBN has come up with another prayer. Then I ask, if we started the first prayer and decades later things are worse, is adding more prayers going to make things better? Perhaps yes, maybe religiously answering, but rationally no. In my opinion, our prayers are docile in pattern and lack situational reality. There are things God can do but has given to us to do. God makes choice of where we are being born to, but what we make out of the place becomes our choices. He gives us talents, but how we use it is our choice. Matthew 25:14-30. He gives us life, but the protection of the life is ours. With all the biblical graces exclusive to Israelites, they have been fighting to survive from biblical history till this moment. In 1972, Israel lost 11 of their nationals in the Olympic. Instead of heading to the synagogue, they headed for retaliation. For over 20 years, they were on assassination spree, hunting down any perceived enemy who could have been linked to the attack. Spectacular in this were code name they gave to the operation, Operation Wrath of God, and the note they dropped as condolences to the victims, a reminder we do not forget or forgive. If this is the same Israel we all claim the blessings of their father Abraham is ours, then there is a missing link to reality of life we have not accepted. The impact of Black Lives Matter is still very fresh and green. The march brought the world to her nails, and age-long statues around the world were brought down, and governments of the world were forced to address some perceived injustices against colors. I just imagine what the impact would have been if the Black Americans had called for prayers instead. Now, the hypocrisy of Nigerian church leaders. Poor Christians and other faithful as well are being killed in their numbers on daily basis all across the country, and alarming attack recently in southern Kaduna. In response, the CBN calls for prayers. But in August 2019, Fulani herdsmen shot a priest in Enugu. The priests left prayers and took to the streets on protest and marched to the government house. Earlier in April 2018, two priests were involved in Benue killings of worshippers, and the city of Maruauding witnessed a protest. During Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, Adeboye threatened a 1 million march against insecurity. Today, in addition to Boko Haram, we have ISWAP, bandits, herdsmen, but same Adeboye now calls for prayer. The question I have not been able to answer: if life of a priest, that by virtue of being a priest of God, should be a celebration for transition to eternity, as St. Paul says in Philippians 1:21, to live is Christ and to die is gain. If the death of a priest of this nature marched out priests on the streets instead of heading to chapel with no condemnation coming from the CBN, at least I've not heard any, Do they really preach to us what they believe, or do they believe in what they preach to us? The same thing happened in Maruauding. Till priests were involved, there was no protests, and there was no official statement from the church. Jesus Christ exemplified Good Shepherd as one ready to lay his life for his flock. But with the ongoing, do we have good shepherds here? From the above, would CBN call for prayers if 10 to 20 of bishops were to be slaughtered in a day? Was Adeboye actually preparing 1 million man march against insecurity, or all concerted efforts to discredit the sitting government at the time, if now he calls for prayers? Before I'm misunderstood, our religious leaders are not military or terror group commanders to call for wars, and I do not expect them to do so. But why not call for a nationwide march in parishes, dioceses, to be led by priests and bishops? Why not ask everyone coming to come with rosary, with their rosaries, their Bibles, their cutlasses, their sword, their guns? At least there are some priests who have licensed guns. Let it not only be used in scaring villagers in their village parishes. Why not lead this march to government houses, military and paramilitary barracks, and occupy from dawn to dusk? Why not use this to tell government that we cannot continue to fold our hands as we await the next person to die? This is a personal opinion and must not sound good to all. But before the holier than thou accuse me of thrusting in chariots, let us not forget that it is not only godly to protect self, but also biblical. The psalmist in book of Psalm 18:34, book of Psalm 144 verses 1, praise God who trains our hand for war and our fingers for battle. Jesus Christ on his own taught us how to pray. But when he got to the temple, he did not pray out the money changers. He flogged them out. And in confirming the self-defense as a mandate of God, Jesus did not only call for self-defense, but he gave it as an order. In Luke 22:36, he said to them, but now, if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you do not have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. This is a call for preparation. No wonder Jesus Christ handed over the church to St. Peter, who was always battle ready, as can be seen in John 18 verses 10. In conclusion, the COVID-19 lesson would have taught us enough of differences between prayers and action. With all the prophecies and prayers of men of God and God of men, we are eventually at the mercy of scientists' laboratory work, doing same thing repeatedly, expecting different results, has never been associated with humility, wisdom, or godliness, and I doubt if this one will prove that wrong. May the souls of the massacred and soon to be, unless we do something, rest in peace. I'm Ogechukwu Okonkwo Eze. Thank you.